What is up, Earthnoids and Spacenoids? I am just a simple new type, and in this episode, we are returning to the UC90s as we continue our coverage of Mobile Suit Gundam MSV-R, the return of Johnny Ridden. Last time, Johnny used the Zaku 2 high mobility ground type to fight against the blue Galgoog he saw in the simulator. Also, Jacobius went to FSS to trade some info with the team and see if this lead Wayline is actually Johnny Ridden. This time, Remia will meet the boss for the first time, and Uma Lightning goes up against Jacobius in a unique-looking Galgoog cannon. So let's get into this. New York City. New York? Who translated this? Maybe they were going for a New York accent? Hey, it's New York, I'm walking here. The city is hosting a 10-year anniversary to the 1-year war. At the event are historical mobile suits being exhibited. People are gazing upon the Gouf combined test type. The MS-07W Gouf combined test type is one of the most unique designs by Zeonic during the 1-year war. After Garma fell and EFF reclaimed California base, they found this one and only unit. This unit has a customized DOP called the Little DOP that is stored in the torso and docks through the back. The Little DOP functions similar to the core block system of the Gundam. However, this Little DOP can't dock with the Gouf and can only function as an eject pod. It is equipped with a 5-barrel 75mm machine gun, a shield that holds a heat sword, a 300mm giant bazooka, a 30mm 6-barrel machine gun, finger Vulcans, and anti-air missiles on the Little DOP. The wiki says that this was a contest and was originally called the Garma Custom Gouf. The winner had their design cleaned up by Kuniya Okawada himself, and this is the result. It's unfortunate you probably can't do this today because you'll get overwhelmed with votes of a giant dick robot. This unit, of course, was designed specifically for Garma Zabi. At this 10-year anniversary, the Gouf will be on display to the public for the first time. A woman handling administrative duties for Oxner Cliff, who is currently running for office. She believes that he should be doing more of a tour while he is here, but he is going to leave it in the hands of Gop and to trust him. If that name sounds familiar, that is because Gop is a former EFF general. He was the one pushing Mirai to join EFF and used her dad to emotionally pressure her into joining the military. After 10 years, Revel is dead, Tiamin is dead, and Jamatov is dead. But Gop still lives. After General Revel returned from being a POW during the Battle of Loom, Gop pushed Revel into signing off on Operation V. He later did give power to Jamatov, however. But during the rise of the Titans and the Ayug, Gop did nothing. He merely bided his time. While everyone fell, he and Gop's followers remained. He says to trust in those old folks that survived the war. His assistant asks, isn't he a survivor as well? He says that he is here by accident. During the 1-year war, Revel went to meet with Degwin to discuss a surrender when Giran fired the solar ray, killing his own father and Revel in the process. Oxner was a survivor of that attack. It was all a blur to him, but he mentions that during the attack, he saw a brief glimpse of the Chimera. As he walks away, he says to leave it in the hands of Jacobius for now. Uma Lightning and his men are trying to find an entrance to Jaburo. They didn't think it would be this big. During the Ayug's infiltration of Jaburo, they found out it was a trap to lure them in and self-destruct the base. Even though a nuke went off, only the command center was affected. Considering Jaburo is a series of underground bases that cover the Amazon basin, most of the base is completely fine, but it has been off limits in an attempt to restore nature in the area. This is the perfect place to hide something. They all split off to see what they could find, but they want to wait for a certain someone to join them. Back at FSS, they are all having a picnic while in the lab. Led is stuffing his face when suddenly JB Hoover, their boss, walks in. Remia realizes who it is and becomes super polite. However, Led is crass and wonders why he is visiting them. He says it is the smell of something tasty that brought him. They tell their boss about the report on the blue Galgoog and how they believe it is Federation made. Not only was it made with Gundarium, but also it was made using a crushable structure. This method of engineering can be found in cars and allows damage to break in a controlled manner. Rather than relying on the strength of a singular hard piece of metal, it purposefully breaks upon impact to disperse energy and protect its internals of the mobile suit. This was Zeon's preferred way of creating armor. Hoover asks Remia who she thinks could produce something like this. She says if she has to guess, she would assume it is Anaheim Electronics. Led says that even if AE built it, they definitely wouldn't maintain it. Hoover says that there is a way to make this happen. Remia and Bob get excited. They realize he is talking about shady dealings. I love the idea that Remia has been waiting her whole life to do something shady. He might be able to help find the supply route, which helps get them closer to their lead. Hoover goes on to explain that before the 1 Year War, EFF worked in a centralized manner, all being controlled via Jaburo. It wasn't until Zeon's Earth attack force came to Earth and the use of the Minovsky particles that destroyed their organization and distribution methods. All the armies on Earth became isolated. Led chimes in saying that everyone knows that, but Hoover says he is doing a recap. Yeah, shut up, Led. He is obviously talking to us, the reader. Since everyone's communication was cut off after the war, EFF just assumed swaths of their people just went missing in action. Until proven KIA, they must be assumed MIA. So FSS must look through all of the squads that went MIA and see if they might still exist, or at least pretend to be existing. So much data was lost during Operation British. So imagine a group showing up out of the blue months, maybe years later, claiming to be a missing squad. There aren't any records to prove their existence, essentially. So EFF just reinstates them and throws them back into the system. Remia wonders how this is possible after 10 years. Hoover explains that with the chaos of the Grips conflict and Neo-Zeon, all of this could be mass confusion to people. Throw in the fact that ships in space don't sink. They drift out into space until it runs into another object. Assuming oxygen and supplies, crews can survive for years. And even so, remember, there's no proof anyways. Hoover asks if they have heard of Quattro Bagina. He tells them a story of a time during the 1 Year War where he resurrected a crew of a cruiser and went back into the Earth sphere. If you have friends in the higher-ups of EFF, you could get things done, like getting a hold of, say, staff registries. Led wonders if Hoover has always been this shady. He says ever since the 1 Year War, and thanks God for Minovsky particles. One thing Zeon didn't predict when they introduced Minovsky particles was that private parties would get involved. Remia thinks it would be best to assume that they are a test squad or work in R&D of some sort. So some kind of test unit that went missing during the 1 Year War is a good place to start their search. Remia wonders if there are any surviving documents they could research. Hoover suggests looking at the FSS archives. I feel like Remia should have known about the archives. Someone didn't read the employee handbook. Back in Jaburo, Uma is getting attacked by a long-range assault. This is Jacobius and his 1A Gelgoog cannon. The MS-14C 1A Gelgoog cannon is a mass-produced assault mobile suit that is built off of the Gelgoog high mobility type. This unit has increased speed and mobility. It is equipped with a twin beam sword, a beam cannon mounted on its backpack, a 360mm giant bazooka, a beam rifle, a 3-tube missile pod, and a buckler shield. However, in this case, Jacobius has removed the Gelgoog cannon backpack and is using a sniper beam rifle with a 3-kind scope, which is the 3-lens goggle thingy. The sniper rifle requires its own generator, which is being held up by Jacobius' minion, Anazaku. He is able to take out the Zagak E. Uma moves quickly. Jacobius shoots and misses Uma. Uma is quicker than he thought as he moves in and destroys the Zaku holding the generator. They take out their beam sabers and begin fighting. Uma taunts him, stating that he never would have thought that the #1 sniper of the Chimera Corps would miss so easily. He also essentially calls him a bootlicker to the president. Uma wants Jacobius to tell him where Minaret is. He says that he must honor the pact. Jacobius says to walk away and he will pretend he was never here. He says that times have changed, but Uma tells him that power turns people into tyrants. Uma continues yelling about the pact they made. They were meant to bring balance. Jacobius states that he is bringing balance by helping Oxner stay in power. Uma says this is foolish. Oh, also lightning is striking down. Maybe it's like a metaphor for Uma, like, Even though he teases him, Jacobius says he turned into a great man. Out in the distance, surveillance cameras are watching over the battle between the two Gelgoogs as rain begins pouring down. Somewhere else, a mysterious man and woman are monitoring the area. They believe that the minaret is located at Jaburo. One of the soldiers refers to the mysterious woman as Johnny Ridden. Meanwhile, somewhere else, Gouf is looking out at the rain, knowing it is raining on Jaburo. It's a metaphor. And that will do it for this episode. We are slowly starting to unravel the mystery of the Chimera Corps. But what is this minaret, and why is everyone trying to find it? There is an honor amongst the remaining members, but their ideals are fractured in what they truly believe in post-1 Year War. You also wonder what happened to certain players during the 1 Year War. Certainly, John Cohen's records were completely wiped, and the rest of the former EFF leadership is all but dead. Gouf is the only one to stand on top simply by not playing the game for 10 years. years. Next time, we will learn about the core booster Plan 4. We will also see this clone of Johnny Ridden fight against lead in her custom gas plant. We have done a lot of UC stuff over the past month, so next week there will be a few videos dedicated to AUs, so be on the lookout for those. But that will do it for now, new types. If a crew returns after 10 years, just throw them back into the system. That's free labor. Peace.